I jolted awake and found myself lying on my childhood bed. Feeling the vitality in my body, I couldn't help but smile. I'm back. I wonder if John and Samantha are ready.
You've worked so hard for this family, and now that the kids are grown, you should take a good rest.
Hearing the familiar voice, I got up and opened the door.
Emily, come have breakfast. Emily and Jessica are about to take their college entrance exams. How can I leave now?
I sat at the table, my eyes dark as I looked at the scene before me. Laura had a friend who owned a travel agency. Recently, there was a free travel event, and she invited my mom to go with her. In my previous life, I was confident about the exams and felt that Laura deserved to enjoy her life, so I persuaded her to go. It wasn't until later that I realized it was all part of John's scheme. With less than a week before the exams, what travel agency would invite parents on a trip? Especially Laura's friend, who knew we had 2 kids about to take their exams. But seeing the hint of excitement on Laura's face, I immediately smiled.
Mom, you should go. Samantha and I have already reviewed everything. You don't need to worry.
I said the same words as in my previous life, suppressing the surge of hatred within me. I forced myself to stay calm, knowing that once Laura left, I could seek my revenge. She would never imagine that as soon as she left, her own daughter would be pushed into a nightmare. At that moment, my dear sister Jessica walked out of her room. She greeted us with a smile and sat down next to me. My body tensed up but quickly relaxed. What was there to fear? This life had just begun, and the outcome was still uncertain.
Jessica, you should also persuade your mom. It's such a great opportunity.
In fact, Jessica's words sometimes carried more weight than mine because she was the stepdaughter, and Laura often gave her face. Yes, we were a blended family. John brought his stepdaughter Jessica, and my mom brought me, forming a new family. Jessica was only a few months older than me, and we were in the same grade at the same school. We had lived together since the first year of middle school. 6 years had passed, and from the initial discomfort to treating her as my own sister, I had always thought I was wholeheartedly good to her. Little did I know, she was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a thankless wretch.
Mom, Dad, and Emily are right. You shouldn't miss such a great opportunity.
Knowing Jessica's intentions, I could hear a different meaning in her words. After much persuasion from the 3 of us, Laura finally relented.
All right, I'll go then. Michael, take good care of the kids. It's a crucial time. Emily, Jessica, make sure to rest well and avoid eating cold or raw food to prevent stomach issues.
Listening to Laura's nagging, I felt my eyes well up. It had been so long since I heard her warm reminders. After helping Laura pack, we saw her off in the afternoon. Watching her leave, I smiled again. My revenge had begun.
Emily, what are you smiling about?
Nothing, just happy that Mom is happy.
You're so filial, no wonder Mom and Dad like you the most.
In the past, I would have thought she was teasing me, but now I could hear the jealousy in her tone.
Not at all, they like Samantha too.
Jessica's expression quickly became unnatural. Laura did listen to Jessica most of the time, but no one could push me out of her heart's primary position. John treated Jessica differently. Men are naturally careless, and he liked to save face. Usually, whatever Jessica had, I had too. So, I never envied Jessica. Jessica, being a seasoned actress, quickly adjusted her expression.
Talking to you made me forget. Here's your milk, drink it up.
I took the glass of milk and set it aside.
Aren't you going to drink it?
I'll drink it later. I'm thinking about a math problem that I can't solve. I feel like I won't score 150.
Jessica's expression cracked a bit.
If I still can't figure it out, I'll have to ask David later. I don't really want to ask him. Asking him feels like lowering myself.
Jessica's mask was about to fall off. I knew exactly what her sore points were: good grades, Laura's care, and David. I planned to use what she wanted to crush her one by one.
Then have a glass of milk to relax.
Seeing that the fire was almost stoked, I took a sip of the milk in front of Jessica. But the rest of the milk accidentally spilled all over my clothes.
Go get a mop and clean it up. I don't know how.
Hearing me order her around like a servant, Jessica's face turned even worse. But she eventually resigned herself and left. As soon as she left my room, I immediately spat out the milk in my mouth. I dared not drink this tampered milk. In my previous life, it was from this glass of milk that I started feeling drowsy and unfocused. Even when John opened my door at midnight and came to my bed, I didn't know. Looking at the empty milk glass, my revenge plan took root in my mind. Jessica came back with a mop to clean up the spilled milk, and I changed into a camisole nightgown and went to the bathroom. After taking a shower, I came out to find only John in the living room.
Dad, I'm a bit tired. I'll go take a nap.
John, sitting on the sofa watching TV, turned to look at me when he heard my voice. He seemed stunned, his breathing growing heavier. After a while, he suddenly snapped out of it and responded.
I'll have Jessica call you when it's time to eat.
Back in my room, I lay on the bed with my eyes closed, waiting for the father-daughter duo's next move. Not long after, someone opened the door. After confirming I was asleep, they closed the door again. I stood up and hid behind the door, listening to their unrestrained conversation.
Dad, I can't wait any longer. I feel like she was deliberately showing off to me today. Is good grades such a big deal? Is having mom's love such a big deal? Why does she act so smug?
I didn't need to see her face to know it must be twisted with rage.
Jessica, calm down. Dad is willing to help you get rid of this thorn in your side. But you need to understand, if we just keep drugging her to mess up her exams, we can do it without anyone knowing. But if you want me to go to her room and... Jessica, there's no turning back.
Dad, since we've already drugged her, she'll figure it out eventually. We must eliminate the root. Besides, just preventing her from taking the exams is too easy on her. I want her utterly ruined. Dad, you must help me destroy her.
At that moment, my dear sister Jessica walked out of her room. She greeted us with a smile and sat down next to me. My body tensed up but quickly relaxed. What was there to fear? This life had just begun, and the outcome was still uncertain.
Jessica, you should also persuade your mom. It's such a great opportunity.
In fact, Jessica's words sometimes carried more weight than mine because she was the stepdaughter, and Laura often gave her face. Yes, we were a blended family. John brought his stepdaughter Jessica, and my mom brought me, forming a new family. Jessica was only a few months older than me, and we were in the same grade at the same school. We had lived together since the first year of middle school. 6 years had passed, and from the initial discomfort to treating her as my own sister, I had always thought I was wholeheartedly good to her. Little did I know, she was a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Mom, Dad, and Emily are right. You shouldn't miss such a great opportunity.
Knowing Jessica's intentions, I could hear a different meaning in her words. After much persuasion from the three of us, Laura finally relented.
All right, I'll go then. Michael, take good care of the kids. It's a crucial time. Emily, Jessica, make sure to rest well and avoid eating cold or raw food to prevent stomach issues.
Listening to Laura's nagging, I felt my eyes well up. It had been so long since I heard her warm reminders. After helping Laura pack, we saw her off in the afternoon. Watching her leave, I smiled again. My revenge had begun. Mom! I panicked. Even though I hated this father and daughter, I didn't want Laura to see me like this. John saw my panic and swiftly snatched the scissors from my hand. Just as the scissors in his hand were about to pierce my neck, I was pushed away with great force. With a thud, the blade sank into flesh. Laura took the blow for me.
Mom!
I pushed John with all my strength. His leg couldn't support him, and he fell, hitting his head on the corner of my desk and passing out. I quickly held Laura and laid her on the bed. Fortunately, it was only her arm that got hurt. I roughly treated her wound and hurriedly took out my phone to call for emergency help. But she stopped me.
Emily, you can't call. Your college entrance exams are coming up. Everything must wait until after the exams.
Tears instantly streamed down my face. In my past life, Laura didn't make it back in time. By the time she returned, it was too late. I had taken too many sleeping pills and was groggy, assaulted by John. Jessica locked me in the room, and I missed the exams. Later, to escape John's second assault, I jumped from the building and broke my legs. After reporting to the police, John produced evidence claiming I seduced him. Neighbors criticized me, and Laura divorced him and took me away. But from then on, we lived in darkness, both suffering from depression. Everything ended when I jumped from the building. This time, I was ready to die with them, but Laura made it back.
I'm sorry, Emily. I shouldn't have left you alone at home. Don't be afraid, Mom is here now.
I couldn't help but cry in her arms. This time, the outcome was different. I wouldn't step back into the darkness. After venting all my emotions, I stood up again. Laura looked at me, covered in blood, with a pained expression.
Mom, what should we do with them?
Laura glanced at John, her eyes turning cold.
Tie him up and gag him. We'll need him.
I found some rope and tied him up, then stuffed his own dirty sock into his mouth. By the time we finished, dawn was breaking. Laura stood up and helped me carry him to their room. Seeing a large bottle of sleeping pills in the room, she fed him too. Laura's arm started bleeding again, so I quickly took her to my room to rebandage it.
Emily, you're covered in blood.
Laura wanted to touch me but hesitated.
The blood on me has dried. It just looks scary, but it's not as serious as your wound.
To avoid worrying her, I hastily treated my wounds and changed my clothes. I leaned against Laura and told her everything.
I had a dream that after you left, they started targeting me. You did leave, and Jessica brought me a glass of milk.
I didn't know if Laura believed me, but she held my hand tightly.
Emily, this time, Mom will protect you. Neither of them will get away.
MM.
I leaned against her and slept peacefully for the first time. In my past life, their plan wasn't this quick. Besides continuously giving me sleeping pills, they didn't take any other actions. Until the morning of the 7th, I set multiple alarms to wake myself up. But Jessica locked me in the room. I pounded on the door desperately until John heard me. He opened the door, not to let me out, but to pin me down on the bed. Everything happened on the 7th. While Jessica was in the exam hall, I was enduring inhumane suffering. It was my deliberate provocation that heightened Jessica's excitement and John's desire. Why be afraid? If we're playing, let's play big. It seemed the sleeping pills from last night were quite potent, as Jessica didn't wake up until noon. She walked out of her room and was surprised to see my mom watching TV in the living room.
Mom, why are you back?
I couldn't stop worrying about you all. The trip wasn't enjoyable anyway, so I decided to come back.
Jessica nodded and looked around.
Where's Dad?
He's out playing mahjong. Do you need him? You can call him.
Jessica, tone, cheerful no, if he loses, he'll blame it on my call.
At this moment, I opened the door and stepped out of my room. Seeing me with my backpack, Jessica quickly asked,
Emily, where are you going?
I can't solve this problem, so I'm going to school to ask the teacher.
I'll go with you.
Emily, tone, friendly, sure, I'll wait for you.
In senior year, we had more freedom. We could study at home or at school, making it convenient to ask teachers questions anytime. There were quite a few people in the classroom, despite the hot weather. Many were immersed in their studies. I scanned the room and smiled when I saw David. I placed my backpack on the desk and took my exercises to the office. When I returned, Jessica was already sitting in my seat. Her face was filled with joy, and she occasionally glanced at David with the beauty of young love in her eyes. Too bad I noticed. Jessica wanted to speak when she saw me, but I spoke first.
Emily, tone, serious, Jessica, can you go back first? I still have questions to ask David later.
Jessica, tone, shy, you can come back to me if you have any questions.
Jessica couldn't refuse. After all, she always played the role of a caring and gentle sister. David and I were desk mates and competitors. My goal had always been to surpass him and become the top student. I sat down and opened my book. In reality, studying or not didn't make much difference to me. After the incident in my past life, I obsessively reviewed high school textbooks. I would do the college entrance exam papers from different provinces every year, punishing myself if I didn't get a perfect score. Now, those dark experiences had become my greatest weapon. Half an hour later, David handed me a bottle of milk. The milk had just been taken out of the fridge, with droplets of water covering the bottle.
You don't seem to be in good shape. The college entrance exam is just around the corner. Take care of yourself.
Having been out of touch with people for so long, I didn't know how to respond to this kindness. I suddenly felt lost. What was David like in my past life? I couldn't remember. But seeing Jessica sneaking glances at us, I quickly accepted the milk.
Emily, tone, cheerful, thank you. In this hot weather, this milk is just in time.
I deliberately leaned in and whispered to him. To outsiders, we seemed very close. But in reality, I was telling him to ask me if he had any questions. David was a bit surprised by my confidence but didn't mock me.
Studying hard is good, but don't overdo it. You have dark circles under your eyes.
Seeing Jessica walking over, unable to contain herself, I softly said,
Emily, tone, whispering it's okay. But if you suddenly care so much about me, I might think you like me.
David's ears turned red instantly. I was surprised by his reaction. Did he really like me? Jessica happened to hear what I said and saw David's red ears.
Emily, I need to go to the restroom. Can you come with me?
Emily, tone, cheerful, of course.
On the way to the restroom, Jessica kindly advised me.
Jessica, tone, serious Emily, the college entrance exam is coming up. You shouldn't start a relationship now. If you really like David, you can tell him after the exam.
Emily, tone, cheerful, sure, Jessica.
I nodded obediently on the surface but scoffed internally. After the exam? According to their plan, would I even have a chance after the exam? It was almost 11 o'clock when we got home that night. David had driven us back, and Jessica's face was flushed with excitement. The excitement waned a bit when we didn't see John.
Is my dad not back yet?
He's asleep. He lost some money today and drank quite a bit, so he's not in a good mood.
Jessica stood at the master bedroom door, smelling the strong scent of alcohol and hearing her father's loud snores. She believed it.
Mom, thank you for taking care of Dad.
Go wash up and get some sleep. By the way, are you going to school tomorrow?
Yes, I need to go. Studying with my desk mate helps me improve faster. It's a crucial time for catching up and filling gaps.
Jessica's excitement faded a bit more, but she eventually nodded.
Yes, we're going tomorrow.
After we each returned to our rooms, Laura handed me a phone. It showed a live feed of Jessica's room. Yes, Laura had installed a camera in her room that afternoon. We could clearly hear her making a phone call.
Tomorrow night, no matter what, find a way to take her away. I'll create an opportunity for you. At 10 o'clock, behind the school. I'll bring her there.
It was clear Jessica was plotting against me. I glanced at Laura's profile, cold as ice. I wrapped my arm around hers and smiled.
Don't worry, Mom. She won't succeed.
That night, Laura added some sleeping pills, bought by Jessica's biological father, to her milk. The next morning, without waiting for her, I went straight to school. She rushed in around noon.
Emily, why didn't you call me when you left?
You didn't tell me to.
Jessica glanced at David and immediately put on a more pitiful expression.
By not calling me, I missed half a day of review.
Classmate, studying is your own responsibility. How can you rely on others? Even if Emily is your sister, she has no obligation to be responsible for your studies.
With a single classmate and Emily, I could see Jessica's composure crumble. Sure enough, she ran off with tears in her eyes. I gave David a look that said, "Well done." David raised an eyebrow and adjusted his glasses. It was a peaceful afternoon, with David and me challenging each other, neither willing to back down. Only now did I realize how formidable David was. I had to admit, after resolving the major issue with John, I felt like I had no more ailments. Given a second chance, I found life to be incredibly beautiful. As for Jessica, the little fox who hadn't yet honed her skills, I didn't take her seriously for now. At 9:50 p.m., Jessica suddenly approached me.
Emily, my stomach hurts a bit. Can we go back now?
She's about to solve this problem. If your stomach hurts, you can go to the restroom yourself.
Being rebuked by someone she liked, Jessica's tears welled up in her eyes. As it neared 10 o'clock, Jessica tried to pull me away. David swatted her hand away with a book.
Are you trying to hit me?
I just wanted to scare you. Emily usually indulges you too much. Such impolite behavior, and she remains calm. If someone pulled me like that while I was working on a problem, I wouldn't just scare them.
I wrote down the last number and looked at Jessica's face, turning red and white, feeling a burst of joy inside. Jessica's eyes lit up when she saw I had finished the problem.
Emily, let's go.
I nodded and packed my bag. David got up and left with us. Jessica saw David following closely behind me and wanted to say something but didn't dare. David was not one to hold back when it came to speaking his mind. Jessica didn't know why, but I did. Jessica hadn't come in the morning, so I had sought out David privately. I rolled up my long sleeves and pants, showing him the marks on my body made with scissors. Yes, I intended to use his sympathy to keep Jessica occupied. David didn't ask for details but did exactly what I needed. Just like today. With David around, Jessica couldn't trick me into going to the back of the school. When I got home, I saw through the surveillance that she kept apologizing to people. With only one day left until the college entrance exam, Jessica's good days were numbered. To lower her guard, we skipped a day of sleeping pills. The next morning, Jessica was already asking about her father's whereabouts. I walked out of the room with my phone.
Hello, David.
Jessica immediately quieted down.
What do you want for breakfast? Soy milk and fried dough sticks? Steamed buns?
Just get anything. I'm heading out soon, don't be late.
I'm almost at the library, don't underestimate me.
All right, I'm hanging up.
I hung up and went to brush my teeth. Jessica stopped asking about her dad and turned to Laura.
Mom, Emily seems to be dating someone.
How can she be dating at such a crucial time? You're mistaken, Emily wouldn't be dating. It's just classmates hanging out. Do you want to go with her?
Then I'll go too. Better late than never.
Perfect, Jessica forgot about her father, who she hadn't seen in 3 or 4 days. We spent half the day at the library and then went to check out the exam venue in the afternoon. Coincidentally, David and I were in the same exam room. Jessica was in a foul mood seeing us plan to go together and return home together. That evening, after angrily eating a lot of my favorite dishes, she shut herself in her room. When I opened the door again, she was fast asleep. I took off Jessica's pajamas, leaving only her underwear. Laura and I carried her father, who had been asleep for days, into her room and placed him on her bed. Laura asked me to leave, and she stripped John of his clothes. She then took numerous photos of them from various angles. After that, we left the house. I didn't feel guilty at all. I was just returning the favor for what they had done to me in my past life. The next day, I had no idea what Jessica woke up to. Because Laura and I stayed at a hotel near the exam venue. The 2 days of exams passed quickly. After the college entrance exam, my life truly changed from what it had been in my past life. Grades didn't matter much to me anymore. As I walked out of the exam hall, a ray of sunset light spread across the sky in front of me. I suddenly felt my soul being cleansed. The resentment from my past life completely vanished from my body.
How did it go?
I think the top scorer in the province is in the bag.
I think you're underestimating me.
Just as we stepped out of the school, Jessica came running towards me, shouting. David quickly pulled me aside.
Emily, you set me up.
What are you talking about? I don't understand.
Jessica's face looked terrible, with a sickly flush that made her look extremely unwell. David, worried she might lose control and hurt someone, kept holding my hand. But clearly, this action only agitated Jessica further.
Emily, you were just pretending. You wretch. Emily, you'll get what's coming to you.
I don't know about anything else, but if anyone's getting what's coming to them, it's definitely you.
Suddenly, a dark figure appeared in front of me. Before I could react, David spun me around. With a loud smack, a slap echoed above my head. I looked up to see David's face already swollen. John's hand hadn't even come down yet. I couldn't help but show a mocking smile.
What? Couldn't get your stepdaughter, so you turned to your own daughter to boost your ego?
I pulled out my phone and showed them a photo, their pupils dilating rapidly. The people behind them clearly saw the photo too. The crowd quickly erupted in heated discussions.
Is it true? Biological father and daughter? That's intense.
Do I need to spell everything out? I was planning to resolve this peacefully, but you had to come and bully us openly.
John tried to snatch the phone, but the people around us, sensing trouble, separated us. Hiding behind the crowd, I shouted at the two frantic people.
You better behave, or everyone will get a copy of these photos.
When I returned to the hotel, Laura had just come out. She held the divorce agreement in her hand, and we exchanged a smile. Because of the photos we had, they didn't dare confront us head-on. Laura and John successfully divorced. Half a month later, the college entrance exam results came out. I was the top scorer in the province, with David coming in second. I applied to Peking University and took Laura with me to Beijing. The university campus was just as beautiful as I had imagined. After leaving the freshman registration office, I politely declined the seniors who offered to take me to the dormitory and wandered around the campus with my suitcase. Walking along the tree-lined path, watching the vibrant students, I finally felt truly alive. I was a living, breathing person, not a vengeful spirit from dark times. Suddenly, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Next, someone patted my shoulder.
Emily, what a coincidence!
What a coincidence, David. From now on, please take care of me.